Hello everyone and welcome to VALORANT Challengers North America. We're on split 2, week 3, day 2 to see how the action is gonna unfold. I'm Dryad, your host, and today on the desk and on the cast I'm gonna be joined by Lemon Kiwi and Vansili. And guys, it's been some time for me since I've been back in Challengers. Oh, Vans is gone.
Great start. I mean, it's always like that, man. Challengers starts, boom, camera blows up, and then we're back.
We're just the camera's so excited that it's just gone. It's
more
just
excited, yeah. Actually, I'm
just
more
how it
excited
is.
than camera. Screw you, camera.
No, I think the camera won. I mean, clearly. But anyways, we've had a day yesterday where we got to see a couple of those wins. It was Troop taking that win against YFP, and it was also on the other side, Blinn taking the win against SAD. So as we get the chance to look at this, in terms of prediction, honestly, Lemon, I didn't get the chance to do it, but I'm gonna say, yeah, this is exactly what I had predicted.
Yeah, it's cool to see the evolution of a team like Blinn, but also the fact that, you know, the teams from the bottom, YFP, who either got relegated or was close to relegated, to take a map off of Turtle Troop, who went to the finals of the mid-season cup, like, you're starting to see the bottom of the pack start to rise up and catch up to the top team, so competition is getting spicier.
What I love, at least from the YFP and TTR, is that Jakey on Clove on Lotus was popping off as well, taking a map away from TTR and making it fairly close coming through. But yeah, we could definitely see rather that week after week YFP is getting better and better every single time and getting close to like that mid pack of like, it's not the bottom tier anymore, as you just mentioned before here, Jen. And on the other end though, from SAD Esports and the Blinn Esports, SAD felt like it was Northwood University all over again, right? As they brought in another Ferbsa coming through to play with Dip, to play with Darkest, and they actually had a pretty decent series against Blinn. They were able to at least bring one map away, make the third map very close. It got very brawly too, back and forth on Thrifties on Bind, but at least here we have Blinn that's able to pull through and also making a mark ever since it came in here to Challengers. And
in a way, that was pretty much a collegiate match for those reasons that you mentioned, having those members come in, having the other actual collegiate team on the other side. But speaking about collegiate as well, we're going to have a little bit of the collegiate teams playing today, and it's going to be Winthrop as one of the teams today. We're looking at this day number 2. We have day number 3 as well, and for today is going to be Fluffy Aimers for that first match going against TSM, and as I mentioned, for collegiate is Winthrop University going against Moist Shopify. So definitely not an easy match, Lemon, but for Fluffy Aimers and TSM, it feels like it could be a lot closer.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see how the weeks go on and how people are growing and learning from their experiences. And there are some teams that are just focused on the future, whether it's playoffs or Ascension and things down the road. And there's people that are really focused on the here and now. And a lot of these teams have made these roster changes, some like Fluffy Aimers or others, and some that have kept their core like TSM. And they're sticking it out or fixing their problems. And this is what Challengers is all about. It's discovery and improvement.
Some great games that are going to happen today for sure. I think I'm going to keep my eyes up for the Winthrop versus MXS today. Technically, on paper, you're always going to go for MXS, but there's been some weeks where it hasn't been looking the best for Moist X Shopify, and Winthrop also has their up and downs. But I think when it comes down to the ups for Winthrop, you can definitely see some cool things coming out of this team. While for MXS, you know it's always going to be good when they're good, right? So if we actually have a matchup today where Winthrop could actually pop off, like week number 1, for example, I think this is going to be a very fun game, super fun game to watch. And by the way, I think earlier on my name said Wyatt, right? So I got to cosplay a bit. I was trying to get my glasses on.
Not the glasses again, brother.
I couldn't get it, but it'll still be like, what's up? Today on Challengers, I'm looking forward to these 2 games.
Wait, that's actually pretty good.
You're actually doing pretty good. Wait, I was not expecting that.
I was going to say, like, if I tried that off camera, I think it would sound like Wyatt, right?
It sounded there was a couple, like 2 words where it actually sounded like him. You need to keep working on it, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. Okay,
now for casting. Sorry, go ahead.
We get the chance now to talk about what is going to be the first match up today, and that is going to be Fluffy Aimers going against TSM. And let's talk about TSM first, because this is a team that, as you guys been saying, is one of those that have been improving over time, week after week. We've seen them doing better, but it seems like they're always in that mid table, honestly, very similar to Fluffy Aimers, and they're trying to make it to the top 2, top 3 of the group, and it just hasn't been possible. They've come really, really close, but still a couple pieces missing, a couple more weeks to practice, and today is going to be, for me, the week that is going to determine where they really stand. Are they on the upper side of the table and the lower side of the table, Lemon?
Yeah, and TSM come off of a loss against Oxygen last week, but I think it was a really respectable performance, especially, going into OT on Bind. And everyone had kind of these up and down performances, but especially Sim, who top fragged on Lotus, and Poise doing well on map 2. But Sim is definitely the player to watch on this team as the star duelist. We always hype up the duelist, but Sim has such an impact and has these explosive performances. He's always getting the first kills, and he doesn't even need utility to really control areas. That's the type of influence that he has. So, and I like that they're able to reset the mental. We've interviewed Sim in the past and how his team stays composed, even through tough matchups like the one against Oxygen.
Yeah, I think overall, when you're looking at this team as well as Fluffy Aimers, to get to what you were saying as well, Dendron, at the beginning, I think it's just going to be the same, right? Where your aspirations are definitely going to be towards leading the top 4 or top 5 or even at least on the top pack, right? And when you're looking at where you want to finish at the end of the season, at the end of this stage. But I think if they don't attain and reach those spots yet within the upcoming weeks, it's not too bad because they're still kind of like where they're supposed to be. And, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And if you stay in the middle and you still squeak through the playoffs, you still attained it, And where it's going to matter the most, it's once you've actually made it through. And then you're going to say, okay, our preparation now, we can focus on this one team. We can try to anti-strat them as much as we could. And this is the best opportunity that we have to actually have a deeper run within the stage 2. And then for a chance here to go into the playoffs to make Ascension.
And they've come up with new strats to revitalize themselves, to have a fresher look, and also compete against other teams, whether it's the Astra and Yoru on Breeze going for some double duelists, or actually the Deadlock on Bind, which we saw against Oxygen, to instilling the Cypher instead of the Killjoy on Lotus. Like, we're seeing new looks and growth out of TSM, which is what's important. And Sim has been the guy to watch on this team, like I said.
He's just the guy. Let's be honest, he's just the guy. Sim is so good, and we've been hyping this guy up for so long because of how consistent he is. When the team is struggling, when the team is not finding an answer, he will be the difference maker. He'll be the one looking for an answer, and he does it in different ways. He does it with the operator very often when the map allows him to, but he will also do it in the Vandal. He will also do it in some of the Eco rounds. So there's always some opportunities for Sim to pop off. And talking about this narrative of the team that they've been trying to make it to the top and they're not there quite yet, Sim is always a piece that can make sure that they still at least stand a chance against Fluffy Aimers as we get the chance to look at them a little bit more, because they're kind of in the same position, Vance.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw that stat there when we're looking at the score sheet, or at least the stats here are similar. It said that he only he hit 6 op shots last week. I don't know if it's only or whatnot, but I don't think it matters too much as well as to what Sims brings to the table when it's not an operator too, right? If you're looking back at like week 1 or even stage number 1 on how good he was on just saturating, creating space, wasn't there a round where he had so many first bloods and at some point like 23 kills on Sunset?
That's him.
He could definitely, exactly, he's him at that point where you don't need to have an operator to create that space or to do those high impact plays. You're going to need that satchel on that raise, and Sim could bring that to the table for the team for TSM. And if you're going to improve with him as the main firepower right now, and the support system goes around that, and you see the util and the fundamentals continuing to improve for TSM, definitely we go back to our conversation and say, okay, TSM's looking good week after week.
And to be honest, it wasn't really easy for them last week. We know there had to be a substitution for health issues. Poise talked a little bit about it, was giving all the credit to Sherb for that win that they've got. When you are a sub, they call you on the spot. They tell you need to go in, you need to sub for a proto. I mean, that's not something that anybody can do. And Shreb does it. They're able to secure the win this way, Lemon.
It's great to see TSM unite as a team, especially through situations like this that are very frustrating. And I've already talked about how, Sim and the whole team talk to themselves when they're down and when there's medical issues like this, and they can just call through it, which is great to say, great to see out of TSM.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good for the team. It seems like today, hopefully everything is good. It seems like everything is good for them. It should be the main roster playing. But now let's get the chance to talk about the other side. Let's go to talk about Fluffy Aimers, this team that we know. I mean, recently people are still getting used to the name, it seems, but it's a team that we've known for some time, and it's a team that is still having to prove themselves. What I find the most interesting about these two is that I'm telling you guys, they're kind of in the mid-table for a reason. In the split one, they went 2-3 along with TSM, and then in the mid-season cup they won 1-1. Now they're 1-1 in split 2, so there's so many similarities, Vans, for these two teams, and Fluffy Hammers, they would like to be on top of TSM.
Yeah, the only thing that's a little bit different, if you want to look at some differences between these two teams, is Fluffy Aimers unfortunately lost 2 of their key players going into stage 2, and then brought in Bones and Jonah. And then you have like Vapor and Shinobi kind of joining their team. I can't remember when they really joined, but you're just trying to reintegrate these 2 players back into the system, and then trying to find some immediate results when TSM, for example, stuck around for a little bit longer as this roster at the beginning of Challengers. So you kind of want to give that edge over to TSM if you're looking at this matchup head-to-head. Although Bones and Jonah has still been looking pretty good for Fluffy Aimers overall at the start of the stage 2, going through the mid-season cup.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, when you have Shinobi that's able to help out as well, and he's also had tenure in like Counter-Strike and IGLing for Tens and Friends back then, short stint, I think even coaching Game Changers, coaching even APAC. So yeah, he's been around the block when it comes down to coaching his life past a pro gamer. And I think he's going to be able to bring a lot of value to young fraggers in this roster to build them into a point where they're going to be superstars.
Yeah, and just to highlight the value that someone like Bones and Jonah have brought. This is not together we are terrific. They are just way better now, I feel like, with these 2 players, especially Jonah on the Sentinel. I think this is one of the best ciphers in terms of anchor players. And then Bones will highlight his stats in a second, but he slotted in perfectly on this team. I can't stress how Fluffy Aimers look good, especially last week against SAD, 13-6 on Ascent and 13-9 on Split. These were very convincing wins to me from Fluffy Aimers.
They look pretty good. It's a team that, with the changes, they're still establishing themselves, still getting comfortable with each other. That's why they're 1-1 right now, but it's still a team that has a lot of promises. And speaking of promises, it is exactly the one that you just mentioned, Lemon. Bones, it is the youngest. He is the youngest player that we have in Challengers North America right now. He's 16. Is the only player that we have who is 16 years old, obviously playing the duelist. If you have a player that young, you definitely want to teach him the duelist, teach him the Raze, the Jet, and all of those. It seems to me like it's a matter of time before we get to see this guy at a higher level, being that unstoppable Redux-like that we've seen in the past. It's really just a match that is going to determine who's really going to come up on top, and Bones is going to play a massive part into advance.
Yeah, we've already seen some flash in the pan and the potential that he already brings, into a player like Bones, because it's probably the same conversation as when you're looking at Oxy or when you're looking at Redux just a couple of years back, right? Being like, oh, they're too young to compete, but they're still streaming. People are following them, and then they have opportunities now to play, one for Oxygen, one on the big stage now at the VCTs, and you're definitely seeing if this trajectory continues for a player like Bones, he's definitely going to be in a good spot here where we're going to have a chance to potentially even cast him into bigger organizations as into Challengers, or maybe even ascend somehow as an unsigned team with Fluffy Aimers into the VCTs. But I would not be surprised if we'll see this kid on stage anytime soon.
Oh yeah.
And we saw that Bones struggled a little bit on Ascent against SAD when it came to the Jet, but then had like such a big turnaround performance on Split right after, going 9-13 on Jet to dropping 22 kills on Split. This is definitely like a Raze specialist. He's a professional, and that young blood, I feel like he is so hungry to learn and win. And that's like one of the best players you can have on the team. And he's going up against Sim, who I would describe in that same way. So really excited for this Raze matchup.
Yeah, is it the two crazy duelists going against each other for Bones? It seems like, as we just said, it's the player is still proving himself, learning with a team, learning individually. But it seems like he's in such a good path, and this match is gonna mean so much if he's able to win it. But now let's go into the map select. Let's see where we're gonna be headed for this series, because that can also mean if we're gonna be seeing the Raze, if we're gonna be seeing the Jet, or what exactly is it gonna be. And Vance are gonna go into Sunset, Bind, and Split if needed.
Potentially seeing raises all day if it has to go the distance between these two teams. But I want to focus on where we came towards the bans, at least to start things off. Fluffy Aimers, starting with Breeze, I think it's the best thing to do, because again, we're repeating every week, but TSM, it's their map that they love to play the most. Even if they don't have the best performances at times, they don't mind going back to it because it's their bread and butter. I mean, they already won a map by having, or I guess they lost when they had Sherb coming into sub, but I mean, it could have been a game where that was one of those games where it got blown out, but then you'll play it again and it'll still play well. TSM banning Ascent is also a very good one too, because Neptune popped off as a KO in the previous weeks, and overall, when you're going to go with the basics as a free agent team, you want to stick with the protocols. This is a great map for Fluffy Aimers to be able to take that map into their favor. So seeing that we're picking Sunset and Bind and Split are probably the second best for, or maybe even a third here at this point for TSM, as Lotus was also banned by FAIM, which I also like. So I'm starting to lean towards Fluffy Aimers' possibility of winning the vetoes.
At least on map 1, I guess I'm just going to take this one map at a time. I'm looking at TSM for map 1, even though this is a Fluffy Aimers pick. Fluffy Aimers actually lost Sunset against Winthrop the last time they played it, 13-10, while as TSM won Sunset against M80, which I think is a top tier team, at least above Winthrop, 13-7. And so that's a pretty decisive victory for TSM on Sunset, and they play, the Breach KO, a lot of flashes. I'm expecting a similar thing. Maybe Neptune is more sky oriented when it comes to Sunset, so that should be the main difference to watch.
And the real difference maker is going to be as well TSM and the growth and the changes, the practices, the scrims that they've had on this map of Sunset, because we haven't seen it in this week number 1 and week number 2. We've seen it just a little bit before that. But as you were saying, Lemon, for the side of Fluffy Aimers, we saw it pretty recently when they went against Winthrop. The thing for me is that Winthrop, it's hard to make a comparison when you look at how a team does against Winthrop, because sometimes Winthrop will look unstoppable, will look really, really good, and sometimes they're not really showing up the way that we expect. So it's, you never know, is it a good Winthrop day, is it a bad Winthrop day, and what does that mean for the other team that was playing against them? So that's kind of the question that I have. The match is almost ready, by the way. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll go into the agent select.
Welcome back, everybody, to Challengers. We're here in Agent Select for our first map between TSM and Fluffy Aimers here on Sunset, and the Breach KO from TSM and this guy. I have this crystal ball, Vans.
Yeah, nothing changes right now in terms of who's playing what, or at least in terms of agent composition, but there is a switch of roles between who's occupying those, because we were usually praising Neptune playing the Sky. So I actually find it quite interesting here, looking at the side of Fluffy Aimers, that they're still going to keep a Sky despite Pancakes now playing Sky and then Neptune on a Breach. So instead of going with like this KO Breach, they still want to continue with the Sky Flash to pop a little bit more, get more with the Seekers potentially as well, and maybe try to get the same value as they could as they would if they're going to play a different agent anyways, or a different initiator. But I'll keep an eye on that, and you have to keep an eye on especially those role swaps between Pancakes and Neptune as the initiator. But at least on the other end here, nothing seems to have change or be different here for TSM. 7 continuing the role of the initiator and has been playing that superbly well, not being anchored up to forcibly play more Cypher here and there. That's going to be in the role of your Proto. So this is going to be a very, very fun match to kick off here this series, as again, I think it's the battle of the initiators are going to have to keep an eye on.
Even though, Vans, we hyped up the duelist. You know, it's Valorant. They do the shooting, so we gotta say hi to
We know what they're gonna have
Bones
to do.
and Sim. They gotta shoot to win. At least, well, I guess planting could get you a win as well. There's a lot to do, and we'll finally kick things off with Fluffy Aimers' choice of map, although TSM had that strong win against M80, so who knows how that will translate. We got pistols, we got Fluffy Aimers on the attack first.
Yeah. Fluffy Mirrors to start the round, though, seems like they wanted to play a little bit of an anti. The Breach was already setting up a fault line for the tiles in case they were going to try to push aggressively for TSM. So studying a little bit of that tape, anticipating that, and realizing now that there's no action happening, they'll start slowly creeping up here towards this A side, where actually there's only 2 players there from TSM.
Scaling up, Sim. Oh! First shot from Bones. Better response. Fluffy Aimers will now scale up towards A. Defenders taken care of. There was only 2. Gonna dog up, clear the site. And they got the one-way smoke from Mame set up at the top. So safe plan for Fluffy Aimers.
Yeah. And now they just have to wait here towards the spawn for all of them to group up. But on a player advantage that they currently have for FAIM, and even setting up here for double swings, crossfires, it's not looking too good for TSM for the retake. The best thing here is these double flashes for TSM.
The paranoia from GMD hit Mame, though, at the box, but the cover is great. Fluffy Aimers even have Jonah set up at the left side. And then Fluffy Aimers win the duels. This one way is so annoying for TSM to try and push through. And look at just the setup. It's the firing squad. And TSM are just going to try and bounce their way around the smokes. But Mame had such good map control with these smokes.
Just great utility usage from Mame for sure. Not the one way to start things off towards the spawn, but the counter paranoia as well. Not to give a chance here for that fault line double flash that was set up by Poison from GMD from the spawn and shops to get too much value for them to flood back within the site. But it felt like they should have stayed grouped up though at that point, because Poise is alone. There's 2 players shooting after him. It's so hard to really get some snappy shots into the dumpster, into main at the same time. Most of the times you're getting your ankles broken, so they didn't really just set themselves up here to have the perfect trades. So the protocol's looking much better for Fluffy Aimers to kick off the pistol. Second round, aggression coming out from TSM, contact from Jonah. There's players there, and the camera's going to see it all.
Fluffy Aimers had first blood and just brawled really well off of pistols, so they'll be rewarded with some better guns and even maybe a free take into B. Dealing with the Cypher util, Bones will have their position revealed, which will make them a target of these flashes and the paranoia of this retake from TSM. But with this Guardian, with Fluffy Aimers locked in and focused, control of the left and the right, TSM don't know where to look after that, except at their own graves.
Yep, just had a quick snappy call from Pancakes after Jonah had all that pressure on middle. Spotted 2 on the top. The camera got shot instantly from the person pushing at the bottom of middle, so they understood the pressure coming out from the A side. It was going to be weak on A or B. It didn't really matter. They were going to have 3 or 4 against 1 at that point moving into the site, so they decided to tempo up towards that B site. It was still a nice little double flash that came through for TSM on the attempt for the retake, because we used a paranoia on top of that. They did some damage. But now they have a pretty strong bonus for Fluffy Aimers. Might still default here because they have this Guardian. 2 Guardians for Pancakes and Neptune. So they're just going to try to punish players from TSM, maybe over-peaking once again.
Now's the fight for the orb. You see Pancakes ready to throw out the bird. The flash as soon as they hear the orb get tapped.
Yeah, with the phone line.
And GMD is there by himself. No plan on getting this orb, I imagine, unless things are looking a lot more safe. Unless the noise is elsewhere. So with Fluffy Aimers not hearing that orb get tapped, they have no info to play off of. They're gonna dog up, pressure GMD back. Who got stunned up by that dog, and Fluffy Aimers slowly scaling their way up to deal with that enemy. He pinged with the dog. Now the boom bot will reveal GMD to the right side. Meanwhile, looks like Fluffy Aimers tried to get some mid presence and then got picked across the map. So Fluffy Aimers, you thought that they just could lead with confidence on this offense, and now it's a 4v4. And things aren't so sure for Fluffy Aimers.
Well, Flash is coming through though.
That works out. Especially with Poise not getting the backup because of that smoke from Mame that kind of isolated him from the rest of his team playing on that other side. And then, look, Jonas on the flank is a sentinel. So insane. 13 seconds left, though. We forgot about the most important thing, and that is to plant. 7,
One enemy remaining.
3K, 6 seconds, 1v1, Mame versus Sim. 2 satchels, a teleport, getting behind the box just in time before Sim got around the corner and heard him close. Mame reacted well.
Big round from Mame once again. You can always count on him in these clutch moments, and surprisingly enough that Sim didn't want to throw any essentials just to gamble it out. Because you know, when you're going to be a star player like Sim and you want to bring the aggression against your opponents, just throw your satchels and have that person try to fight against you, and potentially you're going to win that fight because you're Sim. You are him. We've been hyping you up here before we started this game, but wanted to play more patiently instead, and Mummy was able to capitalize on that. But I definitely saw that at the beginning. As soon as GMD got hit by that dog, it pulled out the rotate on middle and made things a lot weaker here for TSM to work around the map because they were getting starved on information. It allowed FAIM to really work that map and have a perfect split. And in the end, win that 1v1. At least capitalize some map control at the very beginning. Now it forces TSM on an eco. Shiko for 5 players, as GMD is just going to try to play through his one way as a solo play. And as it disappears and he sees nobody pushing yet, you see the rotate coming out from the rest here of TSM back towards the A site. GMD's about to get caught.
That's tough. I'm surprised he extended that far, but even with the help of Sim, they grabbed the orb so they got something out of it. But for him to go that far really opens up the A site in favor of Fluffy Aimers. And on the other side, boys, be ready to fault line to flash and to play off of Sim. But Fluffy Aimers, wherever they trek, they find kills in their path. And it's a 5v3 where Fluffy Aimers continue to spill blood, and TSM having one back. Any kind of advantage, they always go 1 for 1. There needs to be someone on TSM that has these heroic performances, but with a round of shares, it's not going to happen here and now.
And I don't know if, even if this is only an eco, if you want to go for a timeout right after TSM, because they probably need to start talking back towards their protocols. They've been over-rotating very quickly, getting caught in these moments as well. Hopefully, Poise is able to get 1 or 2 more so they can get closer to the Rolling Thunder, but no, he's just going to get stopped right away here by Mame. But definitely here, they're getting caught with their pants down by these over-rotates and getting caught on this like mid-control. So far, if you're looking at Fluffy Aimers, they haven't shown too much at the beginning of these rounds, right? It's always been a slow start from the spawn and then a slow spread towards a default, but a lot of this mid-control to cut these rotates and backstabbing players on top of that. So you are overextending, trying to find information on your end when you could actually do this with 7 in your composition, right? So if you are going to try to play a little bit more safe, got to start using that KO util a bit more.
Fluffy Aimers felt like they always had the number advantage in duels, like 2-on-1 all the time or more. I mean, even GMD got caught out 1v5, or the other kills Fluffy Aimers got in mid. The literal replay you saw at the B site was a 2-on-1 in favor of Fluffy Aimers. So I like that they're always playing off of each other now, checking every corner. And it won't be at that one-way smoke from GMD. He's playing now at the B site. It'll be maybe a boom bot from Sim if they wanted to get info off of A elbow. You did just see Poise on the left, and the flash reveals Sim, and Bones with the op. It's definitely put fear into the eyes of TSM's defense here at A. It's pulled the rotate of at least one B defender. But man, Sim is going to try and satchel out the aftershock to pressure back Fluffy Aimers. And it's damage on both sides, but no kills.
TSM were just holding on a knife the whole time just to play the contact and then counter with the knife to break the util so nobody could temple very quickly towards the B site. So it forces now everybody towards mid. Here comes a fake towards this B site, though, with the Seekers, the fake TP, and again, another over-rotate, a perfect fake coming out from Pancakes and crew here, Fluffy Aimers, and now they're weak side on A for TSM.
Oh, these deep flanks from Fluffy Aimers. Jonah got away with it last round, but not this time. Not with TSM having weapons to actually fight with. Fluffy Aimers will plant A. Extended out into A link is Bones after this one-way dissipates at the top of the site. TSM will able to satchel through and be more comfortable, but the one-way is back. Mame has been such a nuisance at this choke, but with the no command there left from 7, it's all up to gunplay. And you got Bones on this box with the op, looking untouchable. He's trying to deal with these angles well as TSM will suffocate him, but Bones will Zippo clutch for Fluffy Aimers.
And that's a 3-on-5 converted for Fluffy Aimers, but nothing really that's out of the ordinary as to like, oh my god, how did you lose a 3-on-5? Yes, they lost some players here from Fluffy Aimers when they were trying to rotate from mid back towards the A site, but the 3 players that are inside that site that got that plant already has great information, and because the other 2 already died on middle, the rotate wasn't that quick enough from TSM to really punish the post plant instantly towards the A site. So give a chance here for Bones to get an aggressive position towards shot, waste out the fault line also to try to take him down in that area so you get less utility within the A site where they had the crossfire set up in the end. So very nicely done here by Fluffy Aimers, and definitely at this point you're calling that timeout for TSM. I wanted to see it on that previous round so that they wouldn't get caught by these over rotates, but there's definitely going to be that conversation now.
I think TSM have supported each other well when it comes to the right side of the map, you know, not leaving GMD there by themselves, poised aftershock to help Sim get out, who satcheled out, but there wasn't really like TSM fighting back. It's them escaping and fighting back for map control, where I'd love to see them contest a bit more. Like if GMD wants to go for those one ways to play off the right side orb, could he get maybe more util? Could he have Sim satchel in aggressively? Because look at where these duelists stand in terms of KDA. You know, who cares about KDA? But it talks about the impact of this game has been about those initiators, about who is taking vision away and who is using the best util, which it's really on the side of Fluffy Aimers.
Definitely at this point, because again, if you're looking at the beginning of these rounds, still no knives being utilized to know where the default is coming from yet. They heard at least a camera on the east side for TSM, and maybe they could contest that and try to break it. But overall, they've been playing really towards the unknown. The camera's being placed on this B site where a Proto could look towards B main or towards late market, late shops, and it's always been positioned there. So they're playing most of these sites fairly passively, so any type of piece of util forces these rotates to come through. I mean, look at that. The first shoulder gets spotted. Look at this instant pivot that you see from Poised and from also 7. But there's still alert potential that could happen on middle. They could still pump back. They could still get some backstabs. There's a huge control of middle that could be taken right now for FAIM.
As soon as they spotted Bones, he pulled the rotate out of 2. A Proto just has to eat this showstopper. But 2 flashes for TSM around this corner. Bones will not let them breathe. Around this smoke, 7 may be able to spot this. No, Bones gets the heads up play. The 3K make it 4 for Bones in total this round. Heading for the ace. GMD left at mid. And that's been his job, to patrol B, to look at mid. But he needs to be quicker to the punch. Especially with the paranoia still in hand, a 1v4. Maybe you can see how expensive this is going to be with Neptune around. No, the SMG can't pull through, but it is an ace for Bones at the end of the day.
Yeah, just unfortunate there for 7. Play on the top of the flower pots, and he was definitely trying to, he knew the push was going to be coming out from Bones, but was just trying to get a timing so that he could crouch, drop silently at the right spot at the right moment. And as he bobs back up, still looking at the ground, unfortunately, Bones pops out and surprises 3 players off the rip towards the rotates that are coming through from TSM. But it was a half buy. Nothing really that TSM could do at that point, especially when the showstopper from Bones got so much value and so much space for the team on the execution. The knife was saved for that. And even then, when you're saving a knife to counter a showstopper, unfortunately couldn't get the timing on that. You definitely could see that the lack of information doesn't allow for you to be as ready as you want to be on these pop stuff when Fluffy Aimers are finally taking control of the map and finally taking control of a site.
especially with a proto trying to play anti-flash or just a sheriff. I'm sure they're probably happy that the showstopper only got 1 kill versus. It could always be worse, right? And well,
I mean,
it actually can't be worse when you're down 0-6.
Exactly.
So.
That 1 kill still got them 6 rounds anyways, right? But at least for now, they have a plan here for TSM. It's banking off this camera that's set up from a proto so they could fault line and showstopper at that spot. And again, great calling coming out from, I think it's Pancakes, right? It's on yelling. So great calls for this to come through. Pivot back towards middle. They get the dog for information right there, and it could start working the mid to B site.
Okay, that KO Molly is out. Fluffymers were trying to be more aggressive, but just waited for TSM to peek. And Mumbai with the op of all things. Showstopper response though from Sim. And what the hell is that? That's Bones flying. But Rolling Thunder, that's flying by to just hose down mid, I guess. Fluffymers finally at a number disadvantage, and the spike left behind. And it's all up to Mumbai with an op. He's so rich, though, so with 13 seconds left, you might as well save it.
Yeah, especially that. The spike's already down when... I don't know who the hell that was. I guess it was Bone that was trying to get out towards shop with the satchels, but his teammate falling behind. The spacing was too far ahead so that the spike could actually come in for a trade, which allowed here TSM to just pick up 2 clean kills towards shop. The idea was there. It looked pretty good. They still scored first blood. The trap play still worked to get the kill there onto the lurk of Jonah, watching the passive play towards the main push. But the overreaction of the satchels and not expecting where the other players of TSM were positioned after the camera and fault line, there was maximum value from the position from a Proto and Poise in the end to allow for them to scavenge and salvage finally a round in their favor. And you mentioned it, the economy's still very good right now for Fluffy Aimers. They'll still hold on to this op. And they'll understand this for sure for TSM, so maybe avoid middle from market. They're going to probably close that door instantly and just try to play the trap this time around towards the B main.
And with the smoke from TSM, they could sell that they're on the box, so Fluffymers have to check that. And GMD could have gotten a safer position, but he said, screw it, let's go, bring it on. Because GMD, at the bottom of the scoreboard, he wants to have his presence known, and TSM now have him on the box, and he could teleport out. So this is a cool setup for TSM. And surprisingly, Fluffy Aimers have already explored, or they still have their spike there, because they're waiting for a call from their lurkers over at A.
Yeah. Sim's able to get that pick. Nice pop flash, good trade. It's not going well when Jonah gets those kills and throws a hat to get information on top of that too, but I thought GMD was going to get picked off earlier by that aftershock. I think he was still in his open form. Right there. And thankfully that missed for the first blood, but you definitely do see it now. FAIM has open sight to get a plant. Difficult now.
Spike planted.
3v3 from the shadows available too from GMD. Would he want to just teleport on the flank? Or I guess he could have made the rotate a lot quicker if he used it. Either way, Fluffy Aimers, time is on their side. Health not so much for Jonah. Rolling Thunder from the offense, and it causes movement from TSM, and the op from Bones picks them off as they scatter. And Fluffy Aimers still have a commanding lead over the Sunset.
They're getting so much value out of this operator as well. Look at that. In his shadow form and still able to avoid the aftershock. I wonder if it was like when Breach first came out, that first little sliver between the walls and the aftershock doesn't hit you. But nonetheless, still able to capitalize a kill, take control of B main. But the op, once again, still getting so much value, if not in the hands of Mummy, of Bones. They're not leveraging Bones too much to create that type of space because they're still converting so many of these first bloods through these defaults and just decent trades.
Okay, what? Okay, Sim. Just the 2-tap like that. Neptune ready around the corner for the trade. Not only that, to stop the rally of TSM. And the attackers spawn. Neptune so stoic to help salvage this round to deny a potential thrifty. It's 2v2 though. And Bones still has the showstopper. Kind of recollect themselves with Mummy and decide what's next.
I think the lean towards the B side is good too for Fluffy Aimers, knowing that that crunch came in from middle and from B main, and that they punish all those players towards B main, that technically the Cypher should still be set up on a different site and not behind them. And they were still holding towards the spawn at the beginning to see if anybody else is going to try to push forward to upgrade into a weapon, because there's plenty of them to get picked up here. An opportunity for Poise to at least get something and salvage that, as the rest of the teams here for Fluffy Aimers. A the two teammates rather taking their time moving back towards this B side. So this gives a huge opportunity here for the defenders to now set up, even get a backstab.
And Poise
30
upgraded
seconds
his gun.
left.
Going through the attacker's spawn. He already cleared B and was re-clearing the spawn. Now going back mid, and you may just get a unlucky surprise depending on how he re-clears B.
Spike planted.
Spike will be planted. Finally, this gets the attention of a Proto, which if a Proto would have moved, he either would have got a weapon upgrade, he would have got the Neuro Theft online, and that could have made a huge impact in this 2v2. Fluffy Aimers will set up their smokes here at Market. Of course, a Proto is sprinting away, so he's revealed the position of where this retake is coming from.
One enemy
Fluffy
remaining.
Aimers will adjust accordingly with the crossfire. Mame taking out Poise. And it's just a Proto who'll pick up a new gun and do his best to find wherever Fluffy Aimers are. But the advantage was there all along for Fluffy Aimers.
Yeah, it just makes sense that a Proto had to stay towards that A side. He still had all of his trips. The camera's watching towards Elbow and also towards the walk-up of Radio Knight to Dumpster. So he still had the A side on lock. If they actually backstabbed him from behind, the camera was still going to get shot off. He would know, and he could just hold his angle. So nothing he could really do. Unfortunately, he had to come down to some hero plays from Poise after he upgrades the weapon to at least make sure that he could identify where the last two players are so they could work in tandem with 2 versus 2, which they did. But unfortunately, they had no idea of where their opponents are going to be placed here in the post-plat scenario for Fluffy Aimers, and he convert that. Almost a thrifty that came in their favor. But the end of the day, it's still a 7-point lead for Fluffy Aimers looking for the mid control at the beginning of this round. There's a fault line to try to get them some more spots here, some more control towards the right side at shops. But Sims on top of the boxes, he might be able to surprise one.
Ooh, timing too with Poise walking up from the B site, and surprisingly, Fluffy Aimers don't want to smoke one of those ways. It will split their focus in half, having to look both ways before you cross the road. So, unfortunate walk up for Fluffy Aimers, a territory they're trying to explore, and Pancakes will go 1 for 1. Neptune will get the cleanup. Fluffy Aimers, it's costing some bodies to get that top mid control. Now you're trying to wrap around B, and guess who's read this like a book? It's a Proto who already had the lineups, and now you know the spike is down.
Got hit by a paranoia though. Oh, but it missed. Mummy's still there to capitalize on the kill at least, and it puts it back to 2v2. So the advantage did go for the attack though on the trades back towards Boba. They might have hurt the TP towards main. You'll have individual duels now.
There's a crack in that smoke though, so GMD can safely push through it. From the shadows on the flank, Mame will have a teleport, and from the shadows himself to just check where this retake is coming from. Spike is tapped, and Jonah knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, I was definitely looking to fake the position back towards Boba, because I'm pretty sure that he was playing towards Market and hurt that TP towards B main. So mind games back and forth between these two omens. And it's once again Mame that has the upper hand, has the arena, and allows Jonah to just come through and just spray as soon as it taps, the spike's being tapped, and they still had the player advantage at this point. Now it's looking pretty good as to why Fluffy Aimers are picking this map on Sunset, despite the loss that he had earlier on against Winthrop, where, you know, we gave a lot of praise to Winthrop in that week because they were just looking like Fluffy Aimers had no opportunities to really get a good attack side.
And
But they definitely feel more comfortable in TSM.
And with the Sky, I mean, the Pancakes can give them so much info, and you can have deep flashes too compared to Breach. You have to be on the other side of a wall, and it's like step by step. Like, Pancakes can go further with this util. They've cleared B. Now no more Sky util. It'll just be maybe a Paranoia or Neptune that could set up with a fault line. As Bones.
Silent jump too. They'll never expect it.
Fire in the hole!
Oh, showstopper. Bones is tired. Doesn't want to hide, doesn't want to cower, but he sees some ghosts. That showstopper had it coming. But Bones is just going to play safe now at 33 HP, catching a lot of TSM's retake at the top of site, flooding in. A Proto, 7. Throwing out the flashes of knives, the Seekers, to try and stun up and slow down the retake from TSM. Spike about to go off, and the diffuser is killed! And this could be enough time. Fluffy Aimers just have to scrap through this. And they even have the off angle at Market. The spike will be going off, and TSM will fail the retake.
Oh my god, Bones so many times is able to slip through the net in so many occasions. He had the silent jump into what I would like to call trifecta usually, because that spot is so good for crossfire setups from Pillar and from Market, but just by the box at the entrance of Boba. But then realized here that TSM, they also had a showstopper available, so he didn't want to get caught by that. So he uses his own to clear out towards Market, and then hides by the door so that he never gets cleared by Sim. That when Sim was trying to find him towards the Market, able to backstab and get the kill onto the diffuser and secure the round for Fluffy Aimers, as you saw the kills finally starting to come back in favor of TSM on their thrifty round. And now at 10-1 for Fluffy Aimers, last round of the half, and TSM unfortunately still no answer as to how they could fight back against the attack of Fluffy Aimers. And it's another round where they're just gonna default 2-2-1 this time around though. Aggressive position may not be cleared as Sim is holding the pillar, and that might be the only saving grace right now for TSM to potentially get 2 in the round.
Yeah, Sim could get help from a GMD paranoia, but he repositions, but at least 7 with 2 flashes and a knife. If Sim gets pressured, there will be assistance. TSM have GMD also pushing up and actually wins that duel against Mame over at the A site and actually gets a double kill. Yeah, that is a huge push for GMD to really kill this round out of Fluffy Aimers.
Now Pancakes is just trying to get across here, and hopefully, yes, that's huge actually. Getting that first pick maybe would have engaged a 1v1 on that B site, but Neptunes are going to look to meet up with him so he could use a Rolling Thunder potentially. Oh no. Oh no.
Pancakes is just like that. Wait.
It's about to happen.
The choke. But it's 2v3. Rolling Thunder from Neptune getting into position, and you heard him in the corner, and Pancakes will deliver the finishing blow. Looking for the ace. GMD will deny that. 3 just needs to prevent the plan. GMD can still save this round as he intended with the first and second blood. Spike being tapped. Neptune wins the 1v1.
No way that Pancakes was able to move around to get those picks.
Switching
2
sides.
players too scared to play towards Boba, and somehow it's the responsibility of Poise to walk out of Market to try to find out where Pancakes is. Look, he's looking back towards spawn when there's already 2 players there. A tap on the spike would probably force a double swing towards the back end. Too hyper-focused to look towards the back area, and you saw the nice shots coming out from Pancakes that gave that chance there in the victory. And another conversion that shouldn't have happened. That was, what, a 2 versus 5? Where before they lost a 5 versus 2 as well, for 5 versus 3 for TSM. So that's 2 rounds where they had big numbers that they couldn't convert in their favor. And that's going to have to hurt here on the first map, and you're going to have to hopefully win a pistol. But we know how TSM are with pistol rounds. Not always the best.
Different defense. Looking at Fluffy Aimers setting up Pancakes to dog or to flash around A, and in that util can go deep, so Pancakes can be in a safe position. Meanwhile, we can't say the same about Sim, who's first blooded. And that means TSM will have to go in without their raise. They're doing their best. They still have a flash in hand, but it's up close and personal with Neptune around the pillar in 3. That's Fluffy Aimers hoping to get another pistol round under the belt in a 4 versus 1, and it's just a Proto with the spike. Surprised that he still wants to go to B with this, but really, there's no route of escape, it feels like.
Almost had an opportunity. At least he forced the rotates out. If you won that one, it was going to be a 1v1 towards his side, but you definitely do see it here. Everybody crunching in, pinching him towards this B side. Now they realize once the market's open that he's definitely rotating towards Boba. So it's only a matter of time, and that's Neptune with a 4K in the round, allowing Fluffy Aimers to be at map point on their map pick.
There's been quite a few almost ace. Well, we had 1 ace, who came in late. We'll still edit it in the montage, you know. We'll cut out the dead time. There's been a lot of 4Ks as well from the Fluffy Aimers side. I mean, it translates into the KDA, but also translates to the mechanical prowess that Fluffy Aimers bring to the table. It's 12-1. What the heck is this scoreline? I was expecting a way closer match.
Yeah. Probably
Maybe you
not
don't.
on this map after all. Well, no, I still think that this is going to go a 3-mapper, but FAIM definitely looks so good and composed here on this map compared to TSM. I mean, look at it. Your forest buying. I mean, at this point, it's just going to be a team deathmatch. Whoever shoots better, and it's so far still Fluffy Aimers. Oh,
and the flash. Like, Fluffy Aimers util is next level. Poise
Defenders
Going out.
win.
Coughing Baby versus Nuclear Bomb. That is Fluffy Aimers 13-1 on Sunset. Wow, I look like a freaking idiot saying that I had TSM on this one. Because how do you beat M80 13-7, but then you lose 13-1?
It's one of those days where when teams are comfortable on playing on certain maps, sometimes, you know, things work on your side, things don't work on your side. You know, it's as simple as that. Because they both have good approaches to the map. They both have great ways to work the map. But unfortunately, at this point, it just felt like for Fluffy Aimers, pancakes at every single read on their attack side to just punish TSM every single time. And you had no chance to come back there on that second half once you take the attack when you've been, you know, losing these conversions of a 3 versus 5 and a 5 versus 2, right? So nothing you can really do there at that point for TSM. You just have to reset and go again next map.
Well, they're going to have to bind together because that is our next map. And we're going to find out all the action that goes down after this break.
Either I probably scuttle because there's the massive scuttle crab.
It's called like there's a giant turtle looking thing. How about like diner? It's not too fancy, but I don't know.
I don't know. I guess Scuttle Shack is hitting me right there. Scuttle Shack.
I would just call it Scuttle at that point. I think I may have heard that just because it says Scuttle Shack right there, but I feel like I've heard that before. So.
My team calls that market, but I think I've heard people call it like crab or something. What would I rename it though? I'd probably call it like, I don't even know what is there. Shrooms. I'll call it shrooms.
And this is split ropes. I would call this. I mean, there's a lot of lights in there. Just call it lights.
I guess everybody calls it vents, right? Because it's not technically ropes. The ropes are like the actual ropes. So I would just rename it vents. Yeah, it's just vents.
Okay, so we just call this vents. I think it is kind of boring. I don't really know what I would rename it to. We'll just call it AC, I guess.
Honestly, I feel like you could just call this like, instead of ropes, just say like a connector, just a con.
I'd call it like, I don't know what I'd call this, like rug or mats, because there's like rugs everywhere, or like towels, whatever that is. Maybe towel.
How about locker room? Perfect.
I'd say like maybe like rugs or something. I see a couple of rugs on the floor, so I'll go with rugs.
I call it bathrooms. So I guess to like kind of cheese this one, people call it showers. So I would just rename it to showers.
Towels or arch.
I'll just call this lounge.
Nah, nothing comes in. I would just rename this rugs and the other short A. This is rugs in here.
I think we can, no, because they call the outside. I would just call this short B if we had to change it, but we call it Suka on my team.
I don't know. I see a lot of pillows, so call it like pillow.
Well, if I didn't call it blue, I'd probably call it like, I like using breakable and ranked. I think a lot of people. Is it called breakable already? Okay, if it's already called breakable, I'll call it like, mythic.
I don't know. This kind of reminds me of like a church, maybe church.
I'm not sure, like breakable door or mini door, something like that.
So if anything, I'd rename it to vent.
Maybe like cave or something. Yeah, I'd say cave.
You can slide down it, so like slide.
I don't know, maybe like secret. I would rename it to.
We could make it. We'll just make it mud. I like mud.
Let's call it moss. I see some moss laying around. It's a weird call, but moss or vine. I see some vines.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.